And since Biden has taken office, we know of 3.8 million illegal immigrants entering our country and about 2 million gotaways. So it's kind of hard to blame the past administration for this, right, President Biden? But somehow that's exactly what this administration has done.
Mega Republican congressman of my predecessor spent 4 years gutting the immigration system under my predecessor. They continue to undermine our border security today.
Let's not forget what the Republicans proposed. They are doing the opposite of what the president is trying to do, is actually move forward in a way that is humane, safe, and has an orderly enforcement pathway process here.
Whatever that means, blame the Republicans. Fox News' Bill Maloogian has been there for his entire career at Fox. He's seen the dire situation, especially at Eagle Pass, up close and personal. And he was sounding the alarm this week like never before.
Eagle Pass, Texas, inundated this morning with one of the largest mass illegal crossings we have ever seen at the southern border.
Wow, coming to a city, a school, a mall near you. That's where they are. My next guest took on the challenge at the border every day under the Trump administration. Former acting Homeland Security Secretary and Executive Director of America First Policy Institute, Chad Wolf. Chad, great to see you. I thought of you right away when this administration from every angle was blaming you guys for breaking the border, to rupturing the policies. You caused that. Did you know that, Chad?
Well, that's what the administration keeps telling us. And look, the clip that you showed there from President Biden, what he should say is that the last administration spent 4 years gutting an open border approach that we had to the border under President Obama and Vice President Biden. And of course, we reversed that trend during the Trump administration, and they have gone right back to it in the last 28 months of this administration. So it's not a surprise. It is a very unfortunate, the situation that we find ourselves in. But time and time again over the last several months, they have made calculated decisions to not enforce the law, but continue to provide incentive factors, which you mentioned, TPS is one, continue to provide incentive factors for more and more of these illegal migrants to come to the United States.
Chad, you, Pompeo, others would go to these different Central American, South American countries and say, you're going to lose aid. You lost it until I see you cracking down on your borders. And you said if you come to one country, that's where you apply. And then we'll decide if you get in. They're going to have a remain in Mexico policy. And yeah, they're going to stay there until you put, and you might even get tariffs on you, Mexico, unless you start enforcing your southern border. And they did. And the relations with Mexico arguably had never been better. Obrador and Trump were extremely tight. These are the types of things that we learned were necessary to release the pressure at the border. Correct?
Well, absolutely. And again, we saw some images this week of migrants on a train going through Mexico on the way to our southern border. Again, we would have never seen that, at least in the last 2.5 to 3 years of the Trump administration, because our partners in Mexico knew exactly what our policy approach was, but they also knew exactly what the consequences were for not stopping some of this illegal migration that we see come through Mexico and arrive at our southern border. You don't have that relationship now. The relationship between the U.S. and Mexico is at an all-time low, where AMLO, the president of Mexico, does what he wants with no fear of any consequences. And so when you have 2,000 people come across that border from Mexico to the United States, Mexican military knows exactly what's going on, but they have no incentive to stop it.
So, Chad, I want you to hear right now from a Democratic mayor in Eagle Pass. He doesn't know what to do. He's never seen anything like it. Watch.
We have thousands of people coming into the country through Piedras Negras, which is the Mexican counterpart, into Eagle Pass, and we just can't sustain thousands of people coming in. We feel abandoned. We shouldn't have to be dealing with this. This is a federal issue.
And when he comes to Biden's desk, he's only been to the border once in 50 years. He says it's your fault. And if we could just dissolve in that chart of where the illegal immigration crossings were when you guys left in 2020 and how they've gradually been going up, numbers don't lie. Having said all that, do you believe this is incompetence or is this intentional?
Well, it's certainly intentional, though I will say I think the team, not only at the White House, but at the department, is fairly incompetent in how they execute certain things. But again, they're making decisions every single week and every single month to keep this charade going. You know, when you give Venezuelans almost 500,000 Venezuelans TPS status. Guess what? That's another incentive factor where you're going to have more and more come to that border, cross the border illegally to stay here in the United States. This isn't rocket science. The Biden administration knows this. They don't care. They have a different goal and objective, and that is to let as many folks into the country as possible. They know that their illegal, or I should say unlawful parole programs are going down in court. And so what do? You launder your parole, you launder the migrants that you put in the parole program through TPS. And so this is a coordinated and orchestrated event that's going on along that border. I appreciate it's difficult for folks to understand, but this is by design.
No, but we do understand it. They've lost track of over 80,000 children. We don't know where they are. We also know this. The wall is not the only answer. It's part of the answer. And the wall that we paid for is rotting in the desert and now is being sold for pennies on the dollar because he wants to make sure the next president doesn't get to put it up if it's not him. Chad Wolf, thanks so much.